Hello again and welcome back to the channel, and today we have a couple of topics to run through as seen in the title. That includes Level magazine ranking the best rappers over 40 years old, and Usher talking about how Eminem influenced him to create one of the greatest albums of this century. As always, if you're here for the first time, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and find me on social media at ETLifestyle_web. So in the previous video I talked about how Lose Yourself was featured on Tyson's upcoming fight promo on Triller, the same app that Eminem partnered with to do the Godzilla challenge. And in that video I joked about how Tyson may be able to get Eminem out in the open for the fight, and now popular content creator in the Impulsive podcast shares his thoughts on the appearances to expect at the upcoming Tyson vs Roy Jones Jr. fight. Check it out.
Lil Wayne performing, Eminem
I thought you were saying he was fighting.
And I could be wrong here, but like Post Malone.
As you heard, it's not just Eminem but also Wayne and maybe Post Malone, and fans have reacted to this how you'd expect, and I have more to share on this after we go through some of the reactions. One user states that since this is revealed by Jake Paul, yeah, M won't probably now, and many other users have that thought that even if it was true, Jake Paul has jinxed it. Another user states, now that everyone knows, he probably won't do it now, and here's my take on this. Since the fight is sponsored by Triller, who partnered with Eminem for the Godzilla challenge, and given Eminem's admiration for Tyson, it's not far-fetched to see the possibility of Eminem making an appearance on that day when you connect the dots like I suggested in my previous video, but as always, time will tell 2 weeks from now. Before we head to the next point, it looks like El Jamar has influenced a meme format that's gaining some traction. The only thing he's influenced in nearly 30 years, I believe. And following Chuck D's comments about Eminem in my last video, a user was kind enough to help us with some jokes about the hood after highlighting comments from legendary lyricists. And if you missed that video, I'll set you guys up with some sarcasm wrapped in meme gold starting from 350, and we move on to the next point. Level magazine, a publication by Medium, decided to rank rappers over 40 years old since hip-hop careers are getting longer than ever at the moment, and if it's up to Eminem, it'll keep going until his hip can't hop anymore. So their 40 over 40 list starts with Diddy at number 40, and here's a look at the top 5 from number 1. Jay-Z, Royce da 5'9", Pusha T, Black Thought, and Killer Mike. And you might be wondering, where's Eminem? Well, Ghostface Killah is at number 6 and M is ranked at number 7. And as you'd expect, I completely disagree with this. And guess what? Eminem's Summary is the only one that gets a negative connotation in the top 10 like this. Sure, Marshall's late career albums have been a mixed bag sometimes. You mean only Revival, weighed down by laborious flows and copy-paste duets with pop stars, but M's shock rap still stings. Jay-Z gets number 1, and his albums over 40 can also be described as a mixed bag sometimes, even by his biggest fans. Magna Carta Holy Grail doesn't exist according to this writer, and no mention of anything negative in Jay's Summary as expected. They are always overly critical of Eminem, probably because he's the biggest artist of the 21st century, and I'll quote 50 Cent here, since Eminem is singled out in the top 10.
Unfortunately for some people, it's tough to accept that you got a white artist that does it better than black artists.
Does this apply to the writers of this? Probably, because it is only Eminem with the negative connotations in the top 10, I'd argue. Despite the likes of Jay having quote-unquote average releases after 40, why is that? And as you'd expect, some have reacted to this ranking on social media. The user states exactly what 50 has stated before, and they still don't give him number 1 because of his shade. I'd say at least top 5, the rappers ahead of him will put him in their top 5 after 40, that's a no-brainer. And here's how listeners have received Eminems Projects after 40. MMLP2 and 8.5, Revival 6.3, Kamikaze 8.2, Music to be Murdered by 8.5. For reference, Jay's solo projects after 40, Magna Carta 6.0, 444 7.3. I'd love to know your thoughts on this, save it for later. And since the buzz right now is Chris Brown vs Usher, and lots of people brought up Confessions as a major point to why Chris Brown is still far from Usher's level, let's revisit some of Usher's comments in regards to getting influenced by Eminem to create the Diamond Certified Confessions album. Kudos to this user for the reminder.
You set the trend with that Confessions album of being one of the most transparent artists in history.
Yeah. I have Eminem to thank for that.
Really? Talk about that.
Well, in the time when I felt music was in transition And R&B specifically was in a place where it could go older, or it could kind of be what it was, right? You had all these great, artists that were either performers, dancers, singers, whatever. But I felt like the honesty, the honesty of hip hop and what Eminem was saying on his records, it motivated me. Like, yo, if he can be that honest, through hip hop, and there'd been other storytellers, but never quite as vivid as his. So I was like, we need to keep it real like him. I want to go all the way in. So let me talk about the unspoken.
Now, especially for the younger folks out there that missed the peak of Eminem, this is how important he was for music, especially on the mainstream level, when Eminem came along, and this influence stretched wider than hip-hop, like Usher and even Ed Sheeran have stated. And much of this influence is downplayed on social media today, despite most upcoming rappers revealing to this day that Eminem was a major influence. But channels like mine will be here to filter through the crap and bring you the facts as always. Leave your thoughts below, like and subscribe if you haven't, and see you on the next one.